What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise post-game show. Today, your Portland Trail Blazers lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers by a final score of 122 to 105. No, 122 to 111. We didn't lose to the Celtics today. I am fixing that as we speak. But I went to the game, so going live a little bit late. And thank you for tuning into the postgame show. Eric, what's going on, man?
Not much. I guess, are we officially calling it, Tori? Are they done in their race for the play-in?
Man, it kind of feels like it. We're going to talk about that, of course, and we're going to talk about a lot of other things with this loss that the Blazers suffered tonight. Man, I can't figure out why it's still the Celtics. Anyway, we're going to recap this game. We're going to talk about all the threes the Blazers shot. We're going to talk about the Blazers offense not scoring in the final 6:39 of the fourth quarter. And that's going to be tonight's post-game show. Hopefully you guys are having a good Tuesday. I got the windows open because it's warm right now. It's the first time I've streamed with the windows open. It's kind of nice. It's kind of
I
refreshing.
could hear the frogs or whatever chirping.
How loud are they? we got
Well,
a lot of frogs
I can't
around
hear.
here,
I
man.
can't hear them anymore. But before you started,
Yeah.
I could definitely hear them. Yeah.
Yeah, we got some frogs out here. So
Let me know if you can hear them in the in the chat.
yeah. Anyway, yeah, appreciate you guys. There we go. All right. There we go. Yeah, Blazers offense falters down the stretch in this one. Blazers last field goal comes with 6:39 remaining in the fourth quarter. They'd have 7 free throws after that, but I do want to have a discussion today about the Blazers offense, about the shots that they got. More than half their field goal attempts were threes. They shot 100 in field goals, and 52 of them were three-point shots. The Blazers made 17 threes. Normally that's good, but they made 17 threes and shot 32.7% from three, which is not good. The Blazers also shoot 14 for 22 from the free throw line, which is abysmal, 63.6%. At one point, they were like 5 for 12. And this was a very weird game. At one point in this game, you had Donovan Clingan and Matisse Thybulle. They were a combined 6 for 6 from three, with the rest of the team being something like 6 for 31 from three. It was an interesting game. Thybulle plays well. Clingan plays well. Sharp plays well until the fourth quarter, and then he has an awful fourth quarter after subbing back in for Matisse Thybulle. I think, honestly, the Blazers would have been better off keeping Matisse Thybulle in the game instead of Shaedon Sharp, given the way that fourth quarter went. Anthony Simons was a complete no-show today. 1 for 10 from three in his 30 minutes. Scoot Henderson had himself a solid game, which was good to see given some of his recent struggles. And Denny Avdia, inefficient night, especially with how well he's played lately. Same thing with Tamani Kamara. But Avdia, 17, 10, and 6. He filled the stat sheet at least. And the Blazers, they fought in this one. They kept going on run after run, getting it close, and then the Cavs would stretch back out the lead. But when you can't score a field goal the final 6:39 of the fourth quarter, especially against a good team, you're probably not going to win that game. The Blazers offense, we've talked about it before, how it can falter down the stretch, especially against good, well-coached teams, especially in fourth quarters under Chauncey Billups. And nobody's surprised the way this offense faltered down the stretch, given how many times we've seen it happen before. So, Eric, the floor is yours. Let me know what stood out to you from this game. Let me know what you thought of the Blazers offense. We can also get into the defense, of course.
Yeah, when you play a team like the Cavs and you give up 122, I think they had 60 at halftime, so pretty much scored 60 exactly in both halves, 60 and 62. You have to keep pace offensively, or you have to find a way to slow them down. And the big number that stands out to me, Blazers shoot 40% from the field, Cavs shoot almost 55%. So, we get a ton more shots thanks to a lot of offensive rebounds and stuff. But, just you're going to have a tough time winning a game, even though you hit 5 more threes than they did. It took 52 attempts versus they had like almost half the 3-point attempts, if I'm not mistaken. What did they have, like 27 or something? When they're shooting well, high percentage, you're not scoring in the paint as much as the other team. It takes you way more threes to get that, and then you're not hitting your free throws either when you get to the line. Just a bad combination of just not making shots in this game.
Yeah, man. So if you're just joining the stream, welcome into the late night edition of the Blazers Uprise post-game show. I went to the game. I sat 200 level, got to see this team play up close and personal. Up close and personal. Man, Eric, this was just one of those games where the lack of offensive structure in their sets bothered me. Truly. And I listened to some radio on the way home, and basically the talking point was, look at the development. Look at how these young guys have gotten better. And that's what matters. And also heard that the Blazers played extremely well. Chauncey Billups also had a leading question where he said that he thought the Blazers did a good job making it tough on Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, despite both those guys shooting over 50% from the field and having 27 and 21 points respectively. Garland also 8 assists. Garland kind of got whatever he wanted there at times. And
especially at the end, yeah.
Yeah. So I bring all this up because I want to have a couple conversations on this stream. One of the conversations I want to have is the Blazers' individual development a good thing so far this year? Because I feel like people just look at how Scoot Henderson got better. Look at how Shaedon Sharpe got a bit better. He didn't improve as much as Scoot Henderson, but Shaedon Sharpe's a little better this year for sure. But with those guys being second and third year players, they should get better. Have they improved enough or improved more than was expected out of them this year? I think that's an important conversation to have, right? Are they on track with their improvements this season? I especially want to have that conversation with Shaedon Sharpe because he had some very frustrating moments in this game for me, right? I also want to have the conversation that we haven't had in a while, going back to the way this offense is run and just our offensive system and lack of a structure, okay? Because in this game, they shot 52 threes. They did get some open threes. But man, lately this team has started to seriously settle for jump shots. And that is not their MO. Now, I understand you're going against Cleveland. They have Evan Mobley. They have Jared Allen. But on a lot of possessions, it seemed like the Blazers had poor spacing, whether it was because they didn't have enough shooting out there, they really need to address that this offseason, or there was times where guys were cutting in from the perimeter when they should be spacing the floor. There was one time Matisse Thybulle did, and he was 4 for 4 from 3, or 3 for 3 from 3. And it was like, why are you cutting in on a drive and just clogging things up? The Blazers need to figure out their spacing, number one. But number two, they shot some bad jumpers tonight, and they settled for some bad jump shots tonight, which is not their MO. I understand working for open ones, especially if they're going to clog the paint and send two to the ball, trap, and then rotate underneath. But it just feels like this team has started to get away from what made the offense competent there for a stretch when they were winning basketball games, which was they're effectively getting out in transition. The Blazers didn't really effectively get out in transition today. Only had 8 fast break points, and when they were on the break, it seemed like they were forcing more than anything. We're going to have a conversation about that. But they're not getting to the rim. And then when they did get to the free throw line, they did not make their free throws. And they just settled for being a jump shooting team. They settled for some tough threes. I mean, Anthony Simons comes in cold with like 3 minutes left in this game and shoots one of the worst threes of the season in terms of shot selection, right? Shaedon Sharpe, I think every game now there's 1 or 2 threes where it's like, yeah, you probably should have attacked. You probably should have dialed it back a little bit there. No, he did only shoot 5 today, but he's 1 for 5. So once again, another rough shooting night from Shaedon Sharpe. But there were a couple of mid-range jumpers where I felt like he could have gotten to the rim or at least tried to get fouled or at least drawn another defender and tried to make the right play where he was just settling for really tough mid-range jump shots. And it's not just those two guys, but I think the shot selection is getting worse. But also, I think part of what the shot selection exposes with this team right now is they struggle to get good shots against good defenses and against well-coached teams that are prepared to guard the Blazers offense. And they put 111 on the board, and it's like, oh yeah, maybe that's a good thing against this team because the standard is so low given how much this offense has struggled the past couple of years. But man, at times do they really struggle to manufacture easy shots without somebody having to attack a somewhat packed paint off the dribble. And it goes back to the way they design their half court and the foundation of their offense. Seemingly, it's like in games like this, they don't have much of a foundation for their offense. They might randomly jack 52 threes up in a game just because they can, even though they're settling for some. And there was just a lot of somebody go one-on-one, take a couple dribbles, decide not to drive, kick it to the next guy, he takes a couple dribbles, kicks it to the next guy, he takes a couple dribbles, and it's all just a bunch of people standing around kind of just swinging the ball around without a plan. There was too much of that in this game today. You had Delano Banton sub in and just kind of hijack the offense a little bit like he does. 6 shots in 14 minutes. He was 1 for 6, including an air ball 3. And it's like fascinating to me how somebody like Banton, who's been playing bad, can just come in and completely hijack the offense in the first place. So, they made some nice individual plays in this game. That's why they scored 111. That's why they kind of kept in this game, especially in that third quarter. But it just feels like the coaching staff and Chauncey Billups, he's not doing enough to get these guys better looks, especially around the rim and in the paint. That's how I feel about this game.
Yeah, so you were at the game. You didn't hear this, Tori. But there was a point in the second half where it was at least 4 or 5 different possessions where Lamar Hurd was saying a backdoor screen for a lob to Shaden would be wide open if they ran it. And he just kept mentioning it. Like, he kept bringing it up. Like, if they just set their offense up like this and set a backdoor screen, it'll be wide open in this situation as long as you have Allen at this position or whatever. And then he's like, oh, look at this, another possession. Like, it would be looks like it would be wide open if they just ran it. And he kept, like, it was almost like he was begging the team to run something as they struggled to get a good shot. So, like, someone like that who, just honestly, like, I probably wouldn't either if I was in his position, but, like, he's not going to be super critical. He's not going to flat out say, Chauncey's not running any structure or whatever it, like, needs to. So, like, if he's noticing this and, like, begging the team for structure or running some sort of set play, it stands out to me for the things you talked about. Like, if he's mentioning it on air, it's got to be apparent to most people. I don't know why the coaching staff doesn't see it.
Yeah, man, the offense just lacks creativity. It lacks creativity, and there's too many possessions where it seems like nobody knows what the plan is to try and attack the defense. Mm-hmm. That's not good. Okay, that's not good. And it also is more glaringly obvious to me when you're playing a team like Cleveland where they don't stand around and just swing the ball to a guy and then he kind of takes some dribbles, not really knowing what to do, and then he swings to the next guy as nobody else moves around. How many possessions did Cleveland have like that today? Cleveland's a really well-coached team. When you look at most well-coached teams, the only time they ever do that is if they have a superstar who can just kind of carry the offense at times playing that way. The Blazers don't have that guy. Not even close. Not even close. And the one guy who could maybe put the team on his back and carry the team through isolation, it feels like in this game it's like he's not getting as many ISO possessions, or maybe it's because he just makes quick decisions when he attacks. I don't know. But there's too much standing around. There's too many offensive possessions where it's like nobody knows what the plan is. The player's on the court or the coach, right? And this is Chauncey's biggest weakness. This is the thing that will hold him back from being a potentially good NBA coach, is schematics, especially offensively. Because there's just too many times where nobody seems to know what they're doing and they're just waiting on the person with the ball to figure something out. And Chauncey is what he is. He's a player's coach who can hold his players somewhat accountable. We've seen it with Scoot Henderson this season. We've seen it with other select guys this season, right? And he's somebody that people respect, and he's kind of, maybe you could claim he's a culture setter and all that, right? Which some of those things are important for a young rebuilding team trying to find an identity and trying to build a culture. But ultimately, if you made progress in those areas this year, now it's time to move on to somebody who is a better schematical coach that can help your offense, because the offensive system is a problem. It is a problem. And that's how I view kind of Chauncey, is he's the first coach in this rebuild, helping establish a culture this year, helping establish a little bit of identity. His players are going to play hard for him. And now you need to go find a coach this offseason that can design some better stuff offensively, because this just isn't it. This just is not it. In the Blazers, they're going to have some more expectations next year. If they're going to take a jump and actually win basketball games against well-coached teams, even if they're missing their best freaking player, like the Cavs were once again tonight.
Oh, he's irrelevant with Garland.
Yeah, that's something I heard after the game, which is wild. If you want to be a top 10 seed in the West, if you want to be a playoff team in the West, you got to find improvement beyond just, we got young players, so they're just going to marginally improve every year, right? And then maybe we make a trade. You have to be well coached. I feel like this team, with the right moves this offseason, with the right coaching hire that can get creative and put players in better spots to succeed offensively, that's when you can see the Blazers potentially be a playoff team next year and potentially be above 500 next year. But without that type of coach, I don't think there's going to be enough development to where you're just going to have a bunch of players that are just going to completely bail out what the Blazers are running right now, at least not against good teams. Against bad teams that don't defend well, they could just rely on guys creating and forcing turnovers and getting out in transition and this and that. But that's why they beat the bad teams. And against good, well-coached teams, they can be missing their entire starting lineup like the Thunder were. They still lose.
Yeah, so I was talking to a Cleveland fan yesterday, and not Alex Wolf, someone else. And he was asking me about Chauncey. And when I was talking, it kind of hit me thinking about the Cavs, is that, he's kind of like the J.B. Bickerstaff of the Cavs. They, built the team with him, but he wasn't good enough X's and O's wise in the playoffs when it mattered, or, I know they had injuries and stuff, so you never know. But it didn't seem like that. And then they get a new coach who runs more of a structured offense, has a different system, and the team sees a huge jump with basically the same personnel that they had last year, where they were struggling as a mid-seeded playoff team. And then Bickerstaff goes to Detroit, and he's fine because it's a up-and-coming team, so he doesn't have to have that locked in. Plus, when you have a dynamic player like Cade Cunningham, who can basically control the game with no matter what the offense is, all you have to do is run pick and roll with him, and he can figure it out on the court. You don't necessarily need that structure, but it'll be interesting to see when the Pistons take that next step into when they're in the playoffs and are expected to be in the playoffs and expected to maybe win a series instead of just get there. if he'll actually take that next step. So to me, it was like, oh, wait, maybe like we need our Kenny Atkinson type coach that will come in and lock these things in and take the next step. Like, I think Chauncey's gotten the most that he's capable of getting out of these guys, but I don't think that's enough, like, long term, as we try to make this step from mediocrity type level, mid level, to getting in the playoffs and further than that.
Yep. We just have to, in the future, get rid of the offensive possessions where nobody knows what they're doing, nobody's moving, somebody gets the ball, feels like they can't get that good of a shot, so they just say screw it and chuck up a tough contested jumper. Like, those possessions drive me crazy. There's too many of them. And for the people that always want to bring up the roster and the talent and this and that, I don't think that's an excuse for it. Actually, I think that makes it even worse, because it's not like you're trying to run good stuff consistently and then guys are struggling to execute the right things. It's not like we're talking about, yeah, this guy, Shaden Sharp, was wide open off a backdoor screen for a lob and this guy threw a bad lob, or this guy, didn't see it. Yeah. Instead, it's like we have a commentator possession after possession after possession talking about how it'd be open and we never run it, right? You can't run an offense that needs to be bailed out by a star-level player when you have no star-level players. And I don't think that's how you develop your young players into star-level players, because instead it's like, man, Shaden Sharp is really settling for some tough jumpers, and he's 8 for 20. Is that good for his development? I don't know. It's tough to say it is.
So Mikey in chat says, you guys don't understand, players wanting to play for a coach in the NBA is a skill, and guys on this team want to play for him. That's exactly my point, though. That can't be, like, if you want to take that next step, if the Blazers wanted to, like, seriously be a play-in team this year and actually make the playoffs or whatever, when you want to make that next step, if you're in the playoffs and you need to make adjustments in a series and you need a good scheme to beat a better defensive team, you can't get by, the players like the coach, so that's enough. That's exactly my point with the whole JB Bickerstaff to Kenny Atkinson thing. I'm sure a lot of the Cavs players wanted JB to be kept last year, and now they're like, oh wait, this is great under a new coach.
Having fun right now.
Yeah, so it's good to have a coach that the players like or whatever, but that can't be your best skill as a coach. It has to. It's okay maybe the last few years when we've been tanking or whatever, like, it's good that we have a coach that the players still respect or whatever, but that can't be when you're trying to jump up into the next level. You cannot get by as that being the main thing you say about a guy when you're trying to defend him as coach.
Well, also, if you think that's very important for this team, then to me, what you're really saying is there's too many players on this team that are too particular about who they play for, and if it's not the right coach, they won't go out there and compete. That's why it's important that you have a coach that the players will go compete for. Because if we have a team full of dogs like we want to act like, if we got a team full of competitors like we want to act like, you don't need a babysitter that they like, that they'll be happy to play for. They should compete regardless. They're paid to compete. If they're true competitors, they're going to compete regardless. So if that's really that important, then you have some serious problems with the roster where, if you get rid of Chauncey and bring in a new coach that's better, all of a sudden guys are going to stop trying as hard. I just don't really think that's a thing. I think you have a ton of teams that like playing for the coach they're playing for in the NBA right now. I just don't buy it, Every team that's winning games, I would say, that team probably likes playing for that coach. So I don't really understand why that is the number one thing to defend Chauncey, because it's a very weak number one thing for a coach to fall back on. Sure, in a rebuild, fine, you get away with it, like Eric said. But going forward, the Blazers need somebody that is better in terms of setting up their offense and figuring out what the hell we're doing offensively, because there's just too many times where the Blazers, down the stretch against a good team, literally don't make field goals for like 6 to 7 minutes straight. We even saw that when Dame was here and the roster was better. We saw that all the time under Chauncey, right? And it's all because of the way the offense gets shut down to the point where nobody knows what the hell they're supposed to do, and they shoot bad shots. It even happened when you had better offensive talent on this team. So that's why I don't buy the roster excuse either. So the Blazers have to figure something out there going forward. And that's what matters.
Well, like, Denny's having an awesome year. Tamani's having an awesome year and stuff. But there is no one on the Blazers that should be dictating, like, oh, we need a coach that I like in there, right? Like, they should all be playing for their jobs and playing to get better and stuff like that. Like, it's not like we have Giannis and we're trying to keep him in Milwaukee and need to bring in a coach that he respects or he might ask out, Like, we don't have anyone on the team that qualifies for that yet.
Yeah.
So, like, there's no reason to make that the reason why we keep a coach or have a coach in place. And, I mean, you can look at teams that had players that you would think have that level of input. Look at the Brooklyn Nets when they had Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and who did they run out of town because they wanted to bring in Steve Nash as coach? It's this very coach we coached against tonight, Kenny Atkinson, was run out of Brooklyn because they wanted to handpick their own coach. And so yeah, it's not respecting your coach doesn't necessarily equate to being a better team or being in a better situation.
Yep, absolutely. Well said. Leave a like on the stream. It helps us out. Let's get this to 100 likes. Yeah, man, it's frustrating to watch the offense. And Scoot was having a good game, but man, he was kind of buried off the ball in this game. You know what I mean? Especially down the stretch. Like, I know he wasn't perfect when he drove or whatnot, and I know he struggled a bit lately, but today he was better, especially on some of his drives, getting to that little, like, 10-foot, 12-foot shot, floater, what have you. And it's like you just got certain guys that play well at times that end up off the ball standing around watching someone who's struggling shoot bad shots. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And there's just too much standing around. There's too much standing around. There's too many guys off the ball who won't just say, you know what, maybe I'll screen away. Or maybe I'll go screen, set a back screen, just for the hell of it. You know what I mean? And it's not like they're breaking the play, like they're running something. There's just so many times where they're obviously not running anything. And there's nobody doing anything. And it's a problem. It has to get better. And that's the problem with these young players, too, right now, is you don't want them to learn that style of basketball where, yeah, if you're off the ball, you just stand there and wait for somebody to do something. Like, we had a possession at the end of a quarter. I guess we were trying to get the game clock low, but there's like a 5 or 6 second differential between the shot clock and the game clock. And it's basically stand up at the top with Banton, waste the whole time, give it to Ant with like 4 seconds left, and he shoots a sidestep fadeaway 3. And it's just like, what? That was the plan? That was the plan for that possession. You know, like, that's terrible. That's terrible. And there's just multiple other possessions like that where it's like, man, they didn't even try and get a good shot. They just kind of stood around, they sat there, and then they chucked up a tough jump shot. And then at the end of the game, they're going to say, yeah, we just missed jump shots. And it's like, man, all right, here we go again.
Yeah. And the frustrating part about the offense, I thought at the beginning of this game, we were running through Denny. He has 5 quick points on the first couple possessions. And he has a nice dump-off pass to Clingan for a lay-in. Mm-hmm. And then he scored a few possessions later. He had like 7 points in the first few minutes. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a Denny game.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just like didn't go back to him
Yeah.
for a long stretch after that. It's like, what
Went
the
away
heck?
from him.
He was completely dominating. Like
Yeah.
they had no answer for him. They had no clue how to stop him. And when they adjusted their coverage, it was leaving someone else open.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like keep exploiting that. Like why do we go away from that? Like I don't. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my entire point with this is like there's no. I'm trying to search for the right word. Like the offense isn't deliberate. The offense isn't. God, I'm blanking on the word for this, Eric. Chat, if you know what word I'm thinking of, let me know. But basically, just lack of a plan. You got a guy that's playing well very early in this game. You got a guy that's really controlling the game, who's had some great first halves when you've stuck with him when he starts hot. And you go away from him, but like it's not like they went away from him by design. It's just when you're not running much, all right, Sharp gets the ball on the wing to start a possession. Here he goes one-on-one. You know what I mean? Like sometimes he'll drive to the rim and score, and it'll be like, wow, look at that. But it's like oftentimes he shoots some tough jumpers. We've seen games where he's like 1 for 10 from 3 because he's just shooting step-back threes, even though he's a 31% three-point shooter. And it's like Denny will start hot. I'm not saying this is like this exact game. This is just the general way things go. Okay? Somebody like Denny will start hot, but then they won't really run anything to keep Denny going unless it's just putting the ball in his hands and he goes and creates. But when they just put the ball in the player's hands, they're not really in a set. It's kind of just like, all right, the ball finds Denny, he goes, he creates. Right? Like how many times do we see Denny start hot so they start bringing him off curls? Or, setting flare screens for him because he's the one who's hot. How many times do we see those actions ran for Denny? And it's not like they ramp up those actions for Denny when he's playing well because they like don't even run anything like that for him. It feels like. So, all right, Denny starts hot. He just has to go find the ball and then make something happen. But if he doesn't just go completely seek out the ball, it's like, all right, ball gets swung to Sharp. They're not in anything. He shoots a step back 3. Misses it. All right, next possession down. Ball finds Ant. He's going to ISO and then shoot a step back jumper. Or a little like tough runner going to the rim. Which like maybe he'll hit. But what's your game plan there? You have Denny starting hot. You're getting good shots off of him. And the offense is just, the next guy gets the ball, do something. The next guy gets the ball, do something.
Yeah, well, I forget what game this was, but a recent game, I don't know if it was like an in-game or they played like an interview with Chauncey from before the game, during the game or something, but he specifically said he relies on Denny and Scoot are really good at this, and Ant's okay at it, and he said one other person, I forget, Sharp, I think, was okay at this, and he's like, I just need them to like generate offense and get into the paint to get good looks for people and stuff like that.
Yeah,
which is fine. Like you do need that aspect. Like most teams need someone who can do that, obviously, and if you have an elite player that does that even better, like SGA or someone like that. But if you that can't be like your offense if you don't have one of those elite guys. That can't be what you depend on for your offense to work, because it does lead to what you're saying, and that's just them basically taking turns trying to get a shot or trying to generate offense, and that's just, there's no structure in it. It'll work sometimes if they shoot well, but when on nights like this, when you're not hitting shots, there's just like no plan to recover from that, and you're kind of just screwed. You can't generate enough points.
And that's why I hate the post-game press conferences where it's just, we just miss shots, because it's like, it's literally that, Eric, and then when they don't make shots, they're just completely resigned to the fact that they're not making shots, instead of evaluating the shots they're getting in the process that they're doing offensively to get those shots, right? Mm-hmm. That's just a problem for me. Like, all right, you want these guys to get downhill, get into the paint, make things happen. run something to shift the defense to get them the ball without the defense completely set up to guard them, to make it a little bit easier for them to attack the paint. Right? Like, that's the thing is, all right, that you want your identity to be, we're going to get downhill, we're going to get to the rim, but you don't seemingly try and do anything to make it easier for these guys to get downhill and get into the paint. And that's the problem I have. Like, it's just, all right, Denny, take your guy one-on-one and make something happen, get into the paint and create. And it's just lazy to me. It's just lazy coaching to me.
Well, there's some talk in chat about that leads to like selfish play, and that can be true. I mean, if they're passing out of it, it's not. But like, I don't think the player, like, if coach is like, okay, Denny, I need you to go make a play, I don't think the players are like, oh, Denny's a ball hog or something. Like, I don't think they're doing that. It's just like, because like most of these guys will pass if the pass is open, but like, I don't know. It's just, it does seem like they're just like grasping at straws, hoping that someone just gets hot or takes over a game. And it, like I said, it happens sometimes. Like it works out for them, but it just seems like an odd strategy when you're trying to go up against a tough defense.
Yeah, well, you want to know also what is perfect evidence of that being the way things are is the way Delano Banton can come into a game and just find a way to shoot like 6 shots in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, he only shot 6 shots in 14 minutes, but he was 1 for 6. You know what I mean? And yeah, he's a microwave scorer, I guess. But it's just like, he'll come into a game cold, not play well, but find a way to completely dominate the offense. And it's like, if you're running stuff that's designed to get your best players in positions to make plays, there's no way Delano Banton comes into the game and dominates the offense like that.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the problem when you have someone like Banton on the roster. He's on the roster simply to come in and try to get a bunch of points in a short amount of time. And that's like pretty much his only useful skill most games. Yeah. So like, you have to let him shoot. Otherwise, like, how do you know if he's going to be on that game or not? So like that's why it's tough. Like, I don't know. That's why I never really like having those kind of players on the roster unless it's like further down the roster. Like if there's someone injured, you know, they can maybe come in and salvage a game because they get hot. But like, I don't like depending on those games, on those kind of players, like 82 games throughout the season.
Yeah, well, also with this roster makeup and this offense, it's like, yay, another guy to come in and to dominate the ball and try and get his. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like another guy who's going to need his turn to try and create something one-on-one from the perimeter. It's just so, like, it's rap ball, you know? It's just like pickup ball. And there's a serious need for shooting on this team. Banton's spot should be a three-point shooter, not somebody who's inefficient and needs the ball in his hands. You know, I know he made a 3 today. His one shot, he made a 3, a catch-and-shoot 3. But for his career, he's been a subpar shooter, and his three-point shooting is trending downwards this entire season after a hot start to the year. So you need a shooter in that role. Instead of it just being like, yeah, here's another guy we can sub into the game to take his turn to maybe create something and see if he can get hot. It's like, no, we should have a shooter in that spot. We should have enough shooting on the team so that when we inevitably rely upon Denny or Scoo or whoever to try and create one-on-one, at least you give them more space. And at least if they pack the paint, you can kick out to those guys, and you're happy with a good shooter shooting as many open threes as they want to in a game, right? If that's Colin Knipple next year in Banton's spot and teams want to leave him open, okay. He can shoot 10 threes in 5 minutes for all I care because he's an elite enough shooter where it's like, all right, he's going to make enough to make defenses pay, and we'll live with that. You know, we'll live with him shooting that. Where it's like, you got so many guys on this roster where they get left open. It's like, all right, another guy missing open threes or another guy that just wants to go one-on-one, and That's something that severely needs to be addressed this offseason, because I think it's going to help the development of these young players, and it's going to help the offense perform better in general. I think that's the main thing lacking, is you just got these guys, these role players, that none of them are three-point specialists, or none of them are really strong three-point shooters. Well, outside of Matisse Thybulle and Donovan Clingan today.
Yeah. The videos aren't up yet on NBA.com. But when they are, I want to post a play in chat. I don't know if you caught this at the game, Tori, but there was Anthony Simons took a shot, and Delano Banton had his hands up and was kind of being whiny about not getting the ball after a play. It's like, dude,
this man get the audacity.
And, I know Anthony didn't. Obviously, he was terrible tonight too, but it was like, oh man, you're gonna complain about not getting a ball on offense. That's all you do is get the ball and shoot. Man.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing is Ant, man. Since you bring him up, get to the rim a little bit. He did have 8 assists and only 1 turnover. Credit him for that. But he only shot 2 shots inside the arc in 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. He was 1 for 10 from 3. The other 2 shots, I don't know, were they jump shots? Mid-range jump shots? Did he just shoot all jumpers in this game?
Yeah, he took 2 mid-ranges, and the one time he went to the rim, he got fouled, yeah.
Yeah. So
there are 2 middies, yeah.
This dude went to the rim once in 30 minutes as a ball-dominant player. At least to score for himself. I guess he probably had some plays where he dished to someone, which is good, don't get me wrong, but it's dude, he settled for tough threes. It's almost like he has to shoot a step back right now. The 1 3 he made, Eric, he was wide open from 3 when he caught it, didn't shoot it, and turned it into a double step back 3.
Yeah. Well, we were down 10 with 2 minutes left, so it probably didn't matter at all. But you're 1 for 9 from 3 in the game, and it's a fast break, and you're taking a sidestep 3 when the paint's wide open. Yeah.
It was still too early in the game to just completely hunt a 3 there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was, like I said, 10 points with 2 minutes left. It's probably.
I think it was 3 minutes left, but I don't remember.
It was 2:20. Yeah.
I mean, regardless, man, there's just some serious offensive flaws with this team right now, and you have some talent. Mm-hmm. Going forward, you have to find more shooting, find ways to make it easier on your shot creators, and a lot of that would come with a new coach.
Yeah, and I mean the percentage on threes wasn't that. What was it tonight? I know we shot 52.
32.7%.
Okay, that's not great. But
and that's with Matisse Thybulle and Donovan Clingan going nuclear from 3.
How do you, when you're shooting, how are over half your shots 3-pointers in this game? That makes no sense with the way the game flow was.
Yeah. It's wild. And the thing is, at this point, Thybulle, wide open 3, shoot it. Mm-hmm. None of Thybulle's 3s were bad shots. And he goes 5 for 6. Okay? Yeah. Clingan, I don't know. I'm getting to the point where, if he's open at the top of the arc and feels like shooting it, go ahead and shoot it. He was 2 for 3 today. Right? Which was cool to see. And he's up to 31% on the season. He has the same 3-point percentage as Shaedon Sharpe. So, and Shaden's going to shoot all these step backs. It's all right, Clingan might as well shoot wide open 3s. Those guys combined to go 7 for 9 from 3. 7 for 9 from 3. Which means the rest of the Blazers shot
10 for 43, right?
10? Yeah, 10 for 43 from 3.
Yikes.
It's not good.
And keep letting him fly, man. Keep shooting, right?
Yeah. Denny shot 9 of them. He got aggressive there late and airballed 1. But it was I've been asking for him to do it. Well, it wasn't super pretty tonight, but.
That's what I'm saying. He had to force some shots.
Yeah.
But, he got, what was happening when he was in the flow of the game, it was good. And then you take him out of the flow of the game and you just expect him to, like, I don't know.
Yeah. And then also if he, we talk about how he should maybe shoot a little bit more and be a little bit more aggressive, but it's almost like, all right, you got to, with the way this offense is, you got to shoot some bad shots in order to get 20 shots up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, it'd help if he could make a free throw tonight, but 2 for 6 isn't good. But it's just like he's not the type to.
4.
Then he's not the type to hunt bad shots.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he'll have a game where he's super efficient and shoots the 4th most field goal attempts on the team.
So, what did you think of the fast break that Sharp had?
Did you post this link yet, by the way?
They haven't.
Oh,
They still don't have the videos up. Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So Chauncey gets the tee. It was a couple plays later, but Chauncey said it was based off of this play. He thought Sharp got fouled, but watching it, so Sharp's on a fast break. He's got a couple guys in front of him, and he's got Denny coming down the left side. That's an easy dump-off pass for a lane or a dunk. And he doesn't pass. He tries to finger roll a shot. Now, we were talking earlier about improvement or whatever, like minimal from Sharp. I will say that his finishing is obviously the one area I think you can point to as been a big improvement this year. But man, it's tough to get. He ends up shooting a shot 1-on-3. Like Chauncey said, he thought he got fouled and that led to the technical, but we're down 2 at the time. If he just makes that simple dump off pass, it's a tie game, and
Sharp kind of single-handedly
hit a 3, of course, and yeah.
Sharp kind of single-handedly killed that run in the 4th quarter, unfortunately. I hate to say it, but he I think he missed a 3 and then had a bad defensive closeout that led to a dump-off pass for a dunk where he just didn't even try and close out properly. And then I think missed another shot and then had that fast break where he's trying to go 1-on-3. And it was just like, dude. He subbed him for Thibault, who's hitting all these threes. And it's like, man, the Blazers would have been better off keeping Thibault in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Sharp had some really good moments in the first half, but the problem with the Blazers getting out and running, I'm glad you bring this up because I wanted to touch upon this. This is kind of like the final general offense thing I want to talk about. Their fast breaks have no nuance, and this is kind of a player thing more so than anything. They have too many guys where it's like, I got the ball in transition. There's 2 defenders back. I'm going to push it as fast as I can, not even wait for a teammate to potentially fill the lane. And I'm just going to try and go 1-on-2 and split 2 defenders and finish. The only player that can routinely do that and make good things happen is Denny Avdia. It's almost like you have some of these players that have seen the way Denny does it and thinks that they're Denny and they should also try and do it that way. And that Sharp play to me, Eric, was like, oh, Sharp's trying to be Denny. Where he drives through 3 people. Unfortunately, he's 3 inches shorter and not as strong.
Mm-hmm.
That's... If you're a good running team, it's not just, we're just going to sprint down the floor and get a layup every time. A lot of it's like, all right, if you're pushing the ball in transition, sometimes you want to slow up a little bit, actually, to wait for that guy on your wing to fill the lane, where if both defenders in front of you stay to the ball, you dump it off to him, right? You want to have options on a break. If you don't have options on a break, if it's 1-on-1 and you got somebody with the ball who's talented, athletically gifted, whatever, okay, you can live with those results, live with attacking that. When it's 1-on-2, you want to wait for an option. Otherwise, you're just driving 1-on-2. And Denny can make it work with the creativity and the way he throws his body into people. Nobody else on this team can make that work. But there was multiple times this game where it was like, Scoot does this too. There's multiple times this game where it's like, why are you trying so hard to drive 1-on-2 in transition? How many times do we ever see the Blazers successfully run a secondary transition where they maybe don't get the first look, but they push the ball fast enough that the defense sprints back to the paint, and then you have a trailing 3 that's open or a trailing cutter? That's what good running teams do. They pick their spots when to go all out on the break, and then they know when to slow it up and find the next best option because the defense hasn't had time to set up because you push the ball up. But it's under control, and you're reading the floor, and you have options. And that's the problem with the Blazers, with the way they run, is just like either put your head down with the ball, and, occasionally they'll have Shane Sharp on the wing, like in front of them already, and, oh, yeah, Sharp, all right, we'll throw the lob. And he had to play like that in this game. But it's like, if they don't have anybody in front of them other than 2 defenders, this team far too often is like, all right, I'm a running back now. I'm going to go through 2 defenders and see what happens.
Yeah. So I don't know what's up with NBA.com tonight, but I'm clicking on like all the games and none of them have the videos posted. So unfortunately,
yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
We hate that. I will say.
Try again later, I guess.
I will say, Ant had I think it was a turnover and then almost walked back on defense in this game, Eric. That was the only transition defense I noticed in this game because it was really bad and it was going the other way. And he turned the ball over and I looked at him to see his reaction, his body language reacting to the turnover. And he basically just like slumped his shoulders and then was super lazy getting back. And I don't even say this in a way to like be too hard on Ant because I'm sure there's other guys that maybe did the same thing in this game that I missed it. It was just the one thing I noticed in this regard. But he feels too up and down, which is weird because he always seems like he has no emotion on the floor. I think that's external, though. We talked about his confidence struggles at the start of the year. He has too many times where I feel like he gets down on himself, and that's why he's been kind of inconsistent in a game like this where he's not buying shots and makes a turnover. It was just one of those things where I'm like, man, this dude is slumping his shoulders and then like kind of jogging back defensively, and it's not the attitude I like from a vet. It's not an attitude I like from a vet. If you make a turnover, go make up for it so it doesn't matter that you turned it over, right? Go bust your ass. Use it as motivation to go get a stop, to go make a defensive play. Because you let your team down turning it over, but you can make up for it. You can erase that mistake by getting a stop. That's the attitude that veterans especially should have and should model for younger players on this team. I know Ant's still young, but he's been in the league for how many years now? Right? So, didn't like that. And I think there's too many players on this team that do that. And Chauncey's kind of alluded to or talked about this team being too up and down mentally based on how things are going.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been some improvement, it seems like, but it's still not good enough.
Yeah, I didn't see that, and unfortunately I'm trying to look at his turnover to see what happened afterwards, but they said they're not posting videos yet, so might have to go back and watch the game tomorrow or something.
Yep. Anyway. Those are our thoughts on the way the team played. We covered an hour with that conversation, man. But I think, oftentimes we just focus on players. I think this is just all improvement points for the Blazers, okay? Mm-hmm. I do not like sitting here. If you're the team and you're Chauncey, and this seems like the way Chauncey goes about things, which I have an issue with, after a game like this, just sitting here and saying, like, we played well. It's fine. We made it tough on Mobley, even though he's 8 for 15 with 21 points, 4 assists. We made it tough on Garland, even though he had 27 points, 11 for 19 from the field. Our defense was fine. Ty Jerome only scored 25 points in 21 minutes. But, we played well tonight. So it's all good. Like, there is multiple things from this game to improve upon that can be learning points for these young players. And Chauncey, we've criticized the schematics, but he is not the right coach for a rebuilding team if he's not focusing on what things he can correct from this game. If he's just sitting here like satisfied with this loss. We were 6.5-point underdogs. They didn't have their best player. We lost by 11. We didn't beat the spread. Then there's like so many games where it's like we lose we're 7.5-point underdogs to Boston. We lose by 13, and we're supposed to be happy about it. We played well. Played extremely well. I don't like that attitude. Some people like that attitude, and that's why they don't like the show. Which I get, because it doesn't align with everyone. But, man, there's still some stuff to improve upon from a game like this that you should be taking out of a game like this. You shouldn't just be sitting here and telling yourself we played well and just missed some shots. I don't think that's the right attitude, because I don't think that's how you improve.
I don't think we've talked enough about him yet, but the one player that did play well outside of Matisse Thybulle tonight was Donovan Clingan. I thought he was really freaking good in this game. And showcased exactly why we were not concerned about what had happened to him last game.
Yeah, absolutely.
They showed a stat on this game, a Haber stat. Do you know? I think this was all time. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but they showed highest defensive rebounding percentage, or not defensive rebounding, overall rebounding percentage by a rookie, and they had Donovan as number one. Best ever rebounding percentage.
Yeah.
But remember last game when someone tried to tell us he's a horrible rebounder or something?
He's historically best rookie rebounder ever, but he's a terrible rebounder. That's the thing, is a lot of the criticisms, that's why we went off about the Clingan criticism last game, because it's not founded in reality. There's statistics actually say the opposite, right? And that's where it's people just wanted to have an issue with Clingan for some reason. And then he comes out tonight against a big front court with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen and has 8 offensive rebounds. People are saying it was per 36. Rebounding percentage is not per 36, though. It would be the same. Yeah.
Whether
it's not a minute-based stat. Yeah.
Rebound percentage is the percentage of the rebounds you grab while in the game. And he's at 21.5% or something like that. But
yeah. His rebounding is elite. His rebounding is elite, man. He goes 6 for 10 today, collects 8 offensive rebounds, blocks 3 shots, goes 2 for 3 from 3. If he has more nights like that, he'll actually be able to bring the opposing big out of the paint. Well, I don't know. If he shoots it as slow as he does, maybe the big will be able to react in time. But, I mean, it's nice to see him making some threes, man, because we didn't know if that was going to be a real thing at all. We had our doubts, but he made a 3 a couple of games ago against the Grizzlies, and he goes 2 for 3 today. He hasn't shot a ton of them, but he's up to 31%. So you hope that in a couple of seasons, 2-3 years, he can be a 35%er that shoots enough volume where defenses have to respect it, kind of like Brook Lopez potentially. I think long term, I do have some hope that Clingan could get there. Now, I do think it's very possible that he doesn't become as good as Brook Lopez of a 3-point shooter, but I think that's completely fine. I think it's the cherry on top of everything, right? What he does well, defense, rebounding, sets good screens. He got called for a moving screen today. I thought it was a BS call. It was soft. I thought the refs called some crap in this game, to be honest.
Yeah.
But great game from him.
Yep. I liked his activity. Man, he's a problem on the offensive rebounds, and I really like the way he's been positioning himself for those. And I thought he did one of the shots he missed, he tipped back in, so it didn't matter. But I thought he did a pretty good job of finishing in traffic against a couple of bigs that are tough to score against. So, I just thought he played really, really well tonight.
Yeah. Yep. Shout out to him. He won our Player of the Game poll on Twitter. So, he was the Player of the Game tonight. And, oh, look, Eric, he played 32 minutes.
Yeah.
He's completely incapable of playing 32 minutes, but he played 32 minutes.
And our defense completely fell apart in this game when he was not on the court.
Yes.
And part of that is like we had a lineup where it was like Anthony, Shaden, Banton, and Thibault and Reith. It's like you're playing basically 4 guards and a non-defensive center. Like
if you're playing a non-rim protecting center, you can't have guys that make mistakes on the perimeter or make mistakes when stuck in rotation. So if you go small with Denny at the 5, because they did that for a few minutes tonight and it didn't look too good, I think it's more so if you have like Sharp and Simons making defensive mistakes and Banton out there making defensive mistakes, or just having terrible closeouts where they just run past the pump fake and then that guy's driving the lane. You don't have Clingan in there to clean up the mess. And it's like, all right, Denny can't clean up that mess. And I think some people might look at it as like, yeah, you can't run any Denny small ball 5 lineups. But I just think you have to have guys that do a better job containing dribble penetration and do a better job closing out. We have some terrible freaking closeouts, man. It's so funny that like Clingan caught the brunt of that criticism last post-game show, because like Sharp at times just doesn't even try and close out, just kind of like runs past the shooter to not let him shoot a 3. And it's like, if Clingan's in the game at the rim, like, okay, maybe I get it, but when he's not, you can't do that. You freaking chop your feet, man. Do they not teach closeouts anymore? Or do the Blazers not? Because chop your feet, close out hard, chop your feet, get a hand high, be ready to slide with them. And it's like, nobody does that. It's just a fundamental thing that's completely lost with this team for most guys.
Just so you know, my 3rd and 4th grade basketball team I coached, girls, they can't shoot from the outside, so it doesn't matter. But I tried to teach them how to chop their feet. So just so you know, like coming up,
it's a basic thing, man. It's basic stuff. Super basic.
I heard I saw someone make this comment on Twitter during the game, and I completely agree with it. Why would you not have, now that Thibault's back, between Denny, Tumani, and Thibault and Clingan, so there's four players that are really good at defense.
Yeah.
Why would you not have 2 of them in the game at all times? Like, why are you subbing 3 of them out at once and having like Thibault as your only defender in a lineup with a bunch of small guards? You know, like it just doesn't make any sense.
Like we're playing Banton and Reith, and like Simons or Sharp together with Scoot. I mean, Scoot's solid defensively, but
not in those lineups though. Like it's that puts a lot of pressure on him to be better defender than he is. Yeah.
Banton has to go, man. Like Banton has no place on this team going forward. Fans like him. He's a fun player.
Well, I think that's going to sort itself out, because I don't see any way they pay him this summer.
His skill set just makes no sense in the position on the roster he's in. Like he is the opposite of what his roster spot should be. His roster spot should be somebody that's a really good 3-point shooter, that's a serviceable defender.
Mount Hood says, did Scoot say the rotations were bad tonight? I think he meant like the rotations to the shooters on defense, not
defensive.
Chauncey's rotations.
I would laugh my ass off.
That'd be hilarious. He was calling out Chauncey. Like Chauncey, our coach did a horrible job of rotations tonight. That'd be funny, but
yeah. I mean, the rotations were bad tonight. The rotations have gotten worse, it seems. And I don't know why that is. I will say,
like you said, Matisse probably should have played more tonight. Like, why?
Yeah, but also I don't know if Matisse helps their rotations. He's out of position a lot, gambling for stuff.
Oh man!
Like last game, go back and watch Boston's made field goals and focus from like the final few minutes of the first to the start of the second, and just focus on Thibault, and you'll see 3 or 4 times where he's just completely out of position, or just running at a three-point shooter, trying so hard to block it that he's just biting on lazy pump fakes and forcing guys to pick up the slack for him. And it's funny because in previous years, like, there's just too many plays where if you took a still frame, you have Thibault facing the rim on defense, standing above the three-point line, not guarding anyone. And it's part of the reason why I've always kind of said his defense is a little overrated. Now, if he's making 5 or 6 threes, then his defense is solid because he can disrupt things and because he can get steals, play the passing lanes, block some shots, this and that. But there's a lot of mistakes. I don't even know if I want to call them mistakes because it's almost on purpose to try and make these defensive plays. There's a lot of times where he gets caught gambling or gets wildly out of position, which forces tough rotations. So that's the problem with Thibault. I don't know if he helps us stay solid defensively in a shell, right? Shell defense, like, and then if you have to help over, you rotate the shell, but he's completely out of position and it breaks the shell.
Did you see the example of that tonight?
I mean,
I think it was Mobley got a wide open dunk in the paint.
Yeah.
Like cutting down the paint.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, once again, I wish we could go back and look at this and show.
Yeah.
Or link the clip in chat. But, so, Ant was tagging Mobley around the free throw line, but a player cut baseline and went to the other block, so Ant had to take him. And Thibault was standing there. Sharp was guarding a guy, like, on the opposite side of the court.
Yep.
And, like, Thibault, like, went to guard the guy Sharp's guarding, like, on the opposite side of the court when Sharp was in position. He should have been, like, dropped down to take Mobley there and just got completely lost. And then he turns to Sharp like he made a mistake or something. Like,
yeah, Sharp was
Sharp's
basically Sharp was supposed to rotate over and cover for Matisse. Yeah, I'm looking at Evan Mobley's highlights because I did notice that, and I did notice Sharp, like, far corner, was supposed to, I guess, rotate down to to Mobley, which is just weird. But yeah.
But on that one, like, Thibault just got caught in no man's land. Like, he wasn't even guarding anyone. So yeah.
Yeah, dude.
It was all Matisse's fault. Yeah.
Yeah, looking back at this play, that's the problem with somebody that gambles a lot, man. But that's the thing, is, like, nobody notices. I feel like nobody notices that, because then I'll get people, he's an all-NBA defender. He's a great defender. Look at all the steals he gets. You don't think he's a great defender? You're crazy. And it's like, I go back and just watch a lot of these plays, and he's just out of position so much.
And he had a great game. We're not trying to, like...
Yeah. Like, he was 5 for 6 from 3. He does make some things happen defensively. Okay? I just wish he could find a way to make the defensive plays he can make while staying more solid. And not ending up completely out of position as much as he does. He's almost like... I don't know if any of you watch him play Rocket League, but you know ball chasers in Rocket League?
Yeah.
He's one of those. He's just chasing the ball, just trying to hunt the ball. And a lot of times it works out for him, but man. Yeah. Shot the ball great, though. If he could shoot like this and be a 40% three-point shooter, I mean, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I agree with Blaze the Nugs there. Like, he does make fantastic individual defensive plays. But, like, in the concept of a team scheme defense, when you need everyone to do their job, it's often him that breaks down.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating.
Yeah. It's frustrating because it's like, okay, he came back. Is he helping us defensively as a team? Like, did he help slow down Darius Garland or Ty Jerome tonight? Did he slow anyone down tonight? You know? It sucks that you guys can't show it on stream. Yeah, I wish we could, man. I wish we could. But you can go look up Evan Mobley's full highlights and look at it's a play with about 9 minutes left in the second quarter that Eric's talking about. So, yeah. Anyway.
Wonder why NBA.com isn't working tonight.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. We're going to take a look at the tank picture. That picture does look better. I will say that. That is the silver lining today, okay? That is the silver lining. Other players you want to touch upon real quick? Is there anyone else?
Not really.
It's good to see Scoot play good again. 18 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. Was 2 for 7 from 3, so still a little bit of a shooting slump, but was 4 for 5 inside the arc and got to the line for 4 free throws and made them all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think he maybe might be the person who would benefit the most off of having more of a structure offensively.
Yep. Could you imagine saying that like when we drafted him?
Yeah, because he wasn't supposed to be that guy, but it's just like utilize him as a cutter, utilize him coming off of screens. Run a backdoor screen for him and throw him a lob. He's athletic, you know what I mean? Like just get him moving, because I feel like when he can catch the ball on the move and has some space in front of him, he can attack that space and like make the right pass. It's just there's so often where he's just having to try and figure out a way around somebody one-on-one, which he's still not good enough yet. And he has to expend a lot of energy to make things happen, you know? And he's become better playing off the ball, shooting some catch and shoot threes and then like attacking off the dribble. And he has some good one-on-one moments today, getting his shoulder into someone and getting little 10-foot jumpers. Like, that's the thing, is he's getting shots within about 10 feet doing that, whereas some other guys will just settle for like 16, 17-footers. I like that he at least tries to get close to the rim, at least gets into the paint one-on-one, but man, I just want to see him like in motion more. The other thing is like he had some times last year and in this year where he's really good catching the ball on the wing and immediately like running into the catch and getting downhill, and it feels like we're seeing less and less of that, which makes no sense because he's been a better three-point shooter this year than last year. But that was like some of his most positive moments as a slasher last year came when the ball got swung to him and he could rip and drive off the catch.
Right.
And does it feel like that's becoming does it feel like that's becoming more rare with him to you, Eric?
Yeah. Maybe it's just, maybe you can just explain that in that he's shooting the three better, so he's taking more or better 3-point shots and it's looking better. So I think maybe he's just like when he's open or like has that, he probably has the lane on a lot of his 3-point shots. It's just when you're hitting a good percentage of them. Now, when you start to struggle again, then maybe you should attack more, like we've been talking about with Sharp. But I do think maybe a little bit that is just he's so locked in on trying to improve his 3-point shot that he's more focused on that. So it might not necessarily be an offensive scheme thing or anything like that. It just might be that he's better at shooting the three. But yeah, I would like to see him attack more. And I do like we talk about this all the time with like you mentioned Anthony not getting to the rim at all. Scoot can do this. Tamani is an athletic guy. Like, why aren't we running more backdoor cuts or backdoor screens or things like that?
Getting these athletes in space,
sense.
Motion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, why have an athletic team if all these athletes are just going to stand still?
Yeah.
Offensively. That's silly. I think that's so silly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway. That's our recap. If you got questions or comments about the game, you can leave them in the chat while we do Tankathon, and then we can read those off, and then the stream will be over. Whoops, I did not want to do that. Okay. Alrighty.
What are you doing over there?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I went into studio mode, which at times has crashed my streaming software in the past.
Yeah.
The Blazers are half a game back for 8th best odds. I guess this is now when we talk about the play-in picture, too. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we got a big Miami win over Golden State today.
Yeah.
I got up for that game.
Yeah.
And then we got Toronto won last night.
Yeah, I mean, we're 6.5 away from Toronto. That's going to be impossible.
Yeah. True. I was just thinking someone else. Chicago won in Denver last night.
Chicago's won 3 in a row. They've won 8 out of their last 10, Eric.
Yeah.
It's funny. They trade Levine, and it's like, we're ready to rebuild. Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
That team is perpetually directionless. They might even play their way up to 8 at this rate because they are only 2.5 back of Orlando.
Before we run Tankathon, I gotta ask this question.
Yeah.
At what point do the Blazers recognize that the play-in is not going to happen and focus on getting the best seed possible or the best positioning possible?
I mean, if they lose to Sacramento, that's their next game, right?
Yeah.
If they lose to Sacramento and Phoenix wins their next game and you're 4.5 back of 10th with 8 games left.
And we don't have the tiebreaker, so it's really like 5 games.
Yeah. You would think maybe you have to wait until after this New York game, but Blazers could very easily lose these next 2 games and maybe be 5 out with 7 remaining, and I hope at that point it'd be like, okay, it's not happening. We are tanking in April.
Let's lose to all these bad teams.
Yeah.
Because that'll help us too. Yeah.
Yeah, like if that happens, you could honestly see no more wins this season.
Yeah.
And they'd finish at 32-50. And you would pass Miami, you'd pass San Antonio.
Yeah.
I assume you'd pass San Antonio. Well, you play San Antonio, so yeah, at least tie San Antonio because they're 1 win behind. Okay. Now, Toronto's not going to win 7 games. The ceiling is 8th. But you get 8th best odds.
Take it. Or with how good we were at some points in the season.
Also, if you don't slide down but don't move up, that's a good range for Knipple, and I think Knipple would be a perfect fit on this team right now. With what this team needs, based on the conversation we've had all stream.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Rooting for Chicago, rooting for San Antonio, rooting for Miami. Now, if Portland beats Sacramento is now tied with Phoenix, so they've lost 4 in a row, and Phoenix has won 4 in a row. Portland is 3.5 behind Sacramento. And the broadcast was already hyping up, or the radio at least, was already hyping up this matchup against Sacramento. You beat them, you're 2.5 behind them. Okay, but also you're 2.5 behind Dallas. Dallas does play at Orlando. But then at Chicago, at Brooklyn, AD came back. I think Dallas is more of a problem. I mean, you might see Sacramento miss the play-in at this point.
Maybe, yeah. Dallas lost tonight, but...
Yeah, but... You should have beat Cleveland one of these games. They were missing Donovan Mitchell. You should be OKC when they were resting their entire starting lineup, and you should have found a way to hold off against New York. Then you'd be a half game out of 9th. And be talking about maybe we can get a home playing game.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
There's just a bunch of games where you look at it like, yeah, we should have played better. We should have found a way to get a couple more wins. And that could be the conversation. But I think if they lose to Sacramento, they're absolutely done with the play-in.
Yeah.
And I think even if they beat Sacramento, it's still a huge long shot, man.
Yeah. They just put themselves too far back.
Yeah.
But
like,
yeah.
Like if you Could they go 8-1 the rest of the year? That's pretty much what it'd take. They have to be Sacramento. Maybe you lose at New York and then win the rest of those games. And you end up with 40 wins, and then like Sacramento goes 5-5 the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's possible. It's just, I mean, we're counting on just an absolute collapse here by someone.
Yeah. I mean, and they got at Washington, at Charlotte.
We're in 12th, right?
Games.
So we still have to pass 2 teams. So like even right?
Well, yeah, Dallas.
Yeah,
You're
but
assuming. But
what I'm saying is like even if we did that with Sacramento and overtook them or tied them and had the tiebreaker, that still doesn't.
It might be the tiebreaker for 11th.
Yeah, it might be the tiebreaker for 11th because if Dallas doesn't fall or Phoenix doesn't start losing some games, like it might not matter at all because we'd still be 11th. Yeah.
It's time to tank, man. We almost made it through March.
How frustrating would that be if we went 8-1 and caught Sacramento, but it wasn't?
Yeah, and had the 12th pick. Oh, that would be the worst. That'd be the worst. I think with how much of a long shot it is, like I am ready to just root for losses again, which means they're gonna beat Sacramento and beat New York.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
So maybe I shouldn't get carried away, but like it's just you have, if you can get 8th best odds, I think the odds of getting Cooper Flag are about as equal as the odds to make the play-in right now, 6%. And I think getting Cooper Flag would be better than getting the 10th seed.
Yeah. Oh.
So, therefore, probably makes sense to tank.
Yeah. I mean, either way, it's not happening probably, but...
Yeah. But, like, I'll take a 6% chance, I guess.
Yeah. Or, like, what is it? Right around 25, 26% chance of top 4?
Yeah, top 4. And also, you're in range for Knipple more likely if you're at 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a lot of benefits being 8th instead of 10th in this picture. Your odds at the number 1 overall pick double going from 10 to 8. So, yeah. 8th best odds. Let's get it. Let's simulate it. Let's scroll from the bottom. 14 is Houston via Phoenix. 13 is Atlanta via Sacramento. 12 is Dallas. 11 is Chicago. 10 is your Portland Trailblazers. 9 is Toronto. 9 is Toronto. So, Miami moved up. 8th and 9th moved up. San Antonio and Miami. Wow, miserable. 8 is Brooklyn. 7 is OKC. Wow, this is like Doomsday Tankathon sim. 6 is New Orleans, and 5 is Washington. So you also got Utah. You got Utah, San Antonio, Miami, and Charlotte. Gross. 4 is Charlotte. 3 is the Utah Jazz. So you're either going to get Miami or San Antonio. At number 2 is the Miami Heat, which means the San Antonio Spurs get Cooper Flag.
I want to mention 2 things in chat right now. Taylor Packer says Miami, quote, their firsts are never valuable at 8 is funny. Now the second pick. It would have been different if day, maybe, but or maybe not. No, it is blood clots. But and then we have Ed Halen in chat saying, we, capital We, are a playoff team. Get used to it. I got news for you, buddy.
You're trolling.
We are not a playoff team. We are in 12th in the West. There are 8 teams that make the playoffs. They added an extra 2 for a play-in to be a playoff team, and we still aren't one of those. So don't come in our chat and be all, oh, you guys are always negative. We're so good. And say we are a playoff team when it is factually incorrect, Ed.
Some people just decide to live in completely different realities. I don't know why, but We are not. This is like when Gray came in the other day and was running victory laps when we're like in 12th place because, man, we could have been better. And I said we were going to be a home court advantage team. It's like, no, buddy. We're 12th. We're almost 13th. We're basically tied for 13th right now with San Antonio in the West. 13 teams don't make the playoffs. So I don't know what reality you're in, brother, but I highly suggest you come back to this one. And, I'd love to get used to being a playoff team again. But also, if we're only a playoff team and we're not contenders, I don't know. Didn't we kind of get used to that? And didn't a lot of people get tired of that? I feel like some of the people, man, that just want to go back to being a playoff team are the same people that would always say, man, I'm tired of being stuck in the middle with old Shea. It's time to rebuild. And it's like, why did you want to go into a rebuild just to end up back where you started? What, did you want some pain? The pain of a rebuild? You just wanted to feel something a little different? Because that's maybe the most justifiable reason, I guess. Like, no, the goal of the rebuild should not be to end up where we were. It should be to end up with something better. The pain of the rebuild should be worth it, and the only way it's worth it is if there's a contender. We don't want to go back to the middle. But we're not even in the middle yet. We're still tied for 13th.
No, Ed's not a troll. He's always in here just being like, oh, you guys will see. We're going to make the playoffs.
He says, I have a mixtape of Eric talking about how bad we will be this year. Brother, we're tied for 13th in the West. Why are you acting like we're good?
Weird flex, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said we'd be 14th and we're tied for 13th.
You predicted 14th, idiot.
Oh, man. Anyway, thanks for the laughs, Ed.
They've been better. Like, obviously, they're predicted. Vegas had them at 21.5 to 22.5 wins, depending on where you look.
We both took the over. Yeah. I said like 26.
Yeah.
Cool. They've won 32.
Yeah.
Sick, man.
I have a bet with I thought it was a lock. You know, I gave him like 14 or 15 games over our predicted win thing and with Gray Hughes, and that's still, I'm still worried about it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they've been a little better than we thought this year win-wise. Dang, Eric. Stupid YouTubers didn't guess the exact right amount of wins they'd get this year. This is why they're YouTubers. Or something. Anyway. Trolling aside.
They had like 10 of 11 games where like everything broke perfectly for them. Sorry, I didn't foresee that before the season started.
Bozo. Anyway.
He says, just remember I told you about the easy money the over-under was this year. My guy, we talk all the time about how oftentimes the Blazer over-under is easy money. In the past, that was one of our go-to things, like early on in the show. But like, dude, like, yeah. I mean, both Tori and I thought the over was gonna hit too. Like, I don't know why you're saying anything.
I even did some promos for the over. Did you actually listen? I don't know. But yeah. Colt says, Rip City Reddit in 2023. We have to trade Dam. We need to rebuild. No more 8th seeds. Rip City Reddit in 2025. We need to stop tanking. Let's go for the 8th seed. We can't rebuild. The only alteration I'd make to that is actually this year it's let's go for the 10th seed. They said no more 8 seeds, let's rebuild. Now it's 2 years later, let's go for the 10th seed. Yeah, it's funny. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I just feel like it's very simple in terms of, all right, you want to build a contender. How do we build a contender? And everybody's so caught up on like, we're close to 10th. And I'm just like, cool, man. Yeah, they improved a bit this year. A young team got better. Cool. Like, how are we going to get to contention? And stop flexing. Like, we've had too many people do this lately. Stop flexing this team as if they are good because they won a few more games than we thought they would, and they're still tied for 13th. Because we have people that sit here and say, like, they're going to challenge for home court advantage this year. And then they come into our streams and they start flexing about this team like, look, see, told you this team would be better. It's like, no, they're tied for 13th. You said they'd be a home court advantage team. Well, if they start playing this way earlier in the year, they might be a home court advantage team. It's like, brother.
They're going to win their next 9 games. I'll bet you anything.
like, yeah, if they were better early in the year and better all season, then yeah, they'd be better. All right. Yeah, maybe they'd be a home court advantage team then, but they're not. So anyway, conversations are I don't understand. I don't understand, man. I don't understand. It's all everything has to be the best or the worst. Where if this team has like some improvement in their trending towards the middle, it's like the people that said they'd be good are going to do victory laps and say they're a playoff team when they're not in the playoffs. Anyway.
I think Ed's the guy who...
He's trolling. There's no way he's not trolling. This dude is not for real, Eric. This dude is not for real.
I'm pretty sure it was Ed is the guy who, during that summer where Dame requested out, I went on that Miami Heat podcast, and he called me a traitor for going on that show. And, like...
How dare you collaborate?
I was dead to Blazer fans or something like that. And...
Well, no, he's still alive on Blazers Uprise, buddy. He's still live in the flesh right in front of all of us. Yeah, Denny and 2 are superstars. Why don't you know? All right. All right. Superstar means a top 10 player. If you think those 2 guys are top 10 players, I guess I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you. They're
Miami
really good
gave
players.
Me a statue for that.
Let's
Dude,
chill, man.
No one gives a crap about us as Miami fans. Like Miami fans don't care about us anymore.
Yeah,
and the only ones that do mistake us for like Danny Meringue or someone who clown them during that process and
talk trash,
just attack us because we're Blazer fans.
Nobody cares. Like, brother, move on. Move on. And yeah. I mean, I don't know why you're so. I don't know why you'd be worried about the Heat right now. The Blazers got 2 superstars at the forward positions. So, anyway. Hello, happy for you is a good response. Yeah. I'm trying to be nicer.
By the way, Ed is not like any of the people who you think created a new account. That account's been active for 8 years. So.
Oh man,
and he's commented for a long time.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
He has a video on his channel, a 1-minute 47-second clip of Locked On Heat, titled "A Miami Heat Perspective: Do We Even Make Sense?" Then he has a 45-second clip, Miami Heat fans hearing about the Damian Lillard trade. And then he has a 1-minute 60-second video, Heat fans heartbreak the Lillard trade. He hates Heat fans, man. So he really hates the Heat. He dedicated a whole 3 videos to how much he hates the Heat. Listen, I love the dedication. I love the dedication. All right.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. That was funny.
If Eric was funny, this would be a great show. Well, it sounds like a compliment to me, so thank you. I think Eric's pretty funny though.
Good job.
You just have to understand. He has big brain humor, So sometimes I don't have a big enough brain to understand his humor, But that's on me. Yeah, that's on me, not Eric. All right. You just have to be of the highest intelligence to understand his wit and his humor sometimes. And that's a testament to Mr. Eric Brandt. Anyway, I love trolling. I love trolling the trolls. It's my favorite pastime. It's what makes the show great. This is what we're all about. So hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on the stream. We're 6 away from 100. We had 148 people vote in the chat poll of can we get the stream to 100 likes, and only 94 people liked the stream, Eric. The math does not make sense to me. So you had...
The math isn't mathing.
At least 54 people that voted in that poll that did not like the stream.
Well, how many?
I bet you Ed was one of them. Oh, here you go. Eric is better looking than Tori, I will admit.
He's still lying.
Nah, he has a crush on you. This is why he felt so betrayed by your Heat podcast appearance back in the day.
Who cares?
Hey, man.
So,
I think it's good for you. Congrats.
It doesn't affect me. I'm happily married.
He's part of.
You have a girlfriend.
He's a Branty. All right, we got the cronies. We got the Branties. All right, he's a Branty at heart.
I agree, Kevin. This did get weird.
Good. It's almost midnight. It's supposed to. Tori gonna be bald soon. You're gonna be banned soon, brother. I bet you don't.
I'm bald already. So.
I still got a full head of hair, my guy. So, but since you said it, I'm gonna make sure I invest in what's it called? Some Bosleys. All right, I'm gonna have it ready to go in case my hair starts falling out. Taylor, yes, sir.
I can't. When someone says that Tamani Kamara is a superstar, and then the next thing is like, "Oh, Eric's attractive," like I can't take that comment seriously, right? Because like he's obviously not very observative and doesn't have good takes. So that's like the worst person to get a compliment from.
That's funny. Oh, that's funny. That needs to go in an out of context clips montage after the season. For sure. For sure. Somebody clip it. Put it in the Discord. I'll put it in a montage. Just out of context. That's a beautiful clip. Eric sucks, but he's hot. I don't like that. Yeah, there you go. Anyway. Anything else for this phenomenal postgame show?
Appreciate all of you, even Ed.
Especially
yeah.
Ed.
Yeah, especially Ed.
Especially Ed. Yeah, I appreciate all of you as well. I don't appreciate Ed as much. He doesn't think I'm attractive, so, you know. But you win some, you lose some. Right?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Or does that mean you are attractive because he has such bad takes?
I don't know. I do have a girlfriend, so hopefully she thinks I'm attractive. She said she was going to watch the stream, but I know she fell asleep by this point. So, yeah. Shout out to her, though, for putting up with me.
Your sense of humor makes you attractive, right?
Yeah, my small brain sense of humor. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, we hit 100 likes. We can end the stream. Anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We'll be live on Thursday. After the Blazers take on the Sacramento Kings. We'll have a mock draft on that show. You ready for another mock draft, Eric?
Thursday?
Yeah.
Sure.
We now have players transferring or entering the transfer portal that we can take out of the mock draft, I guess. You know, my guy Magoon Gwath. He would be a perfect Gonzaga Bulldog, man.
And my guy Bennett Sturts.
Your guy Bennett Sturts. He would also be a perfect Gonzaga Bulldog.
Yeah.
Come to Gonzaga. We don't have any NIL money, so we know you're not interested because money rules college sports nowadays, but you can become a Zag legend.
We might find out what happens if Drake gets put in the Big Ten next year.
Yeah, that would be fun, actually.
I know.
I'm kind of rooting for that. I'm kind of rooting for that, so, yeah.
Could they make the tournament facing a Big Ten schedule instead of whatever conference they're in?
Yeah, well, they won't get underseeded if they make it, because they'll be a Big Ten team, so they could be just as good, but they'll get an 8 seed instead of an 11 seed. And Gonzaga will get screwed by seeding again, like they did this year. Because that should have been an Elite 8 or a Final Four game.
Oh, real quick before we go, sucks about the news about Dame. Hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, so there's talk like he'll return before the end of the season, which is good. I just want to see him healthy with Giannis in the playoffs and see what that can look like. But yeah, blood clots, nothing to play with. So yeah, that sucks for sure.
At least they're catching it in these situations before it becomes something bad. Yeah.
Is Timmy still playing? Not at Gonzaga. He dropped 50 recently in the G League. Eric, he might be. I feel like he might get picked up here any day now because he's been dominating the
10-day,
G League.
yeah.
If only we were tanking and had a 10-day roster spot. Dude, I would love some tanking Blazers Drew Timmy 35 minutes a game. That would be maybe my favorite part of the season.
Bronny had like 37.
Yeah, Bronny's proving that he was indeed worthy of a draft pick. I mean, me and you had him within our top 60 at the back end of our top 60 last year. But everybody gets caught up in it. He's LeBron's son and didn't play well in college, even though he had cardiac arrest right at the start of the season and didn't get much time to get his feet under him. And yeah, we're just going to forget that he was a top high school recruit.
Yeah. I just didn't like the theatrics at the draft about like threatening to. What was he saying? He was going to go play overseas or something.
I mean, that was Braun. That was LeBron.
No, I'm just saying, like, I didn't like that aspect of, like, so when you talk about, like, oh, he maybe should have gone higher than he did or whatever. Like,
yeah, I mean, guys force their way to teams all the time in the late second round. Like, Austin Reeves did that and made sure he went undrafted so he could sign with the Lakers, unfortunately.
Yeah, true. But, yeah, I was actually pretty high on him throughout a lot of last year. Saw him in person, thought he, at the very least, could be a good pesky defender in the NBA. And, I'm not, like, taking a victory lap or anything, but he seems like I never believed the people who thought he was not an NBA player. I think he is an NBA player. Yeah.
Yep, 100%. 100%. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Appreciate you guys making the post-game show fun. We'll be live again on Thursday. Does feel like Blazer fans are kind of more ready to give up on the play-in dream. It seems like. Just feels that way. But we'll have you covered.
You're not a true fan then.
Man, yeah. I can't believe there's only 2 weeks of the season left, basically. It's wild. 2.5 weeks.
Or 9 games? 9 games.
9 games. Yeah, 9 games. Crazy. But, like, I actually have evenings free, which will be cool. And we'll have our Monday to Thursday streams during the off-season on the main channel, Blazers Uprise Live. We'll dive into playoffs and off-season stuff. It's a different vibe. Also, I need to test streaming on my back porch because I was like, maybe I should do a post-game show from my back porch because it's warm outside right now, but in the summer I'll do that a little bit more. That'll be fun. Streaming outside. yeah, I mean the draft is, I think, 3 months away from the day. The
Yeah.
lottery is less than 2 months away. So got some stuff on the horizon for the Blazers. It's going to be a very interesting offseason. Very interesting offseason. And I'm looking forward to it. Phillips interview have anything? Nope, just generic answers, so I don't even want to talk about it. Anyway, we're out of here. Have a good rest of your Tuesday night or Wednesday morning now on the West Coast. We'll catch you again on Thursday with that post-game show after the Blazers take on the Kings. The Blazers lose to the Cavs 122-111. The Blazers loved the three-point shot tonight. Shot more than half of their shots from three. Made 17 threes, but only shot 32.7%. That's not good. Also, 14 for 22 from the free throw line is also not good. And the offense not scoring the final 6:39 in the fourth quarter, that is definitely not good. That's definitely not good. But I think we had a really good conversation to start this stream over the first hour about the problems with the Blazers' offensive system and all that good stuff. So if you did not catch the start of the stream, I highly suggest you go rewatch that back. Leave your thoughts in the comments section. And, of course, like the stream and subscribe if you're new. We'll catch you again on Thursday. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!